Okay, good afternoon. Today's shiur is dedicated to Esther Basara, Yaakov Gedalia Cohen, William and Helen, Rochel Bas Yosef, Dov ben Avraham, Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Fred ben Richard, Avraham ben Mordechai David, Reuben ben Shmuel, Shoshana Bas Elchanan, Shua ben Shmuel, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fege, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Zalman Lei ben Moshe, Chaim Elio ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi, Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Yes? Herb's mother. Today. Leila Nishmas Rachel Sunshine. Leila Nishmatam. Moving on up. Okay. Let's take a look at the Haftorah. The books are in the back on the table there. The Haftorah that we read this Shabbos in the book of Kings 1:1. The Haftorah Chayay Sarah says, Amelech David Zokein Ba Bayamim. King David was old and he came with his days. Yechiel, the same words are written by Avraham Avinu in the Parshat. So that's one connection. The Parshat says Avraham was old and he came with his days, Zokein Ba Bayamim. And the Haftorah on Chayay Sarah, Amelech David Zokein Ba Bayamim. So what does that mean? To come to old age with all of your days. Every day they accomplished. What a compliment. To come to old age with all of your days intact, not even one day wasted, not even one day lost. What a compliment the Torah is paying Abraham and King David, and that's one reason why we read this Haftorah. Of course, it's more than that. Zokein Ba Bayamim. When you're young, you don't think about days, you think about years. But when you become a Zokein Ba Bayamim, then you focus on what? Days, day by day. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, right? Now, in the Haftorah, there's conspiracy in King David's court, right? What happens? Adoniyahu wants to usurp the throne. So Nasan proposes to Bathsheba, V'yomer Nasan el Bathsheba, the prophet Nathan says to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, listen, we have to come up with a scheme and a plan to save your life and the life of your son Shlomo. Because if Adoniyahu gets away with taking over the throne, who are his first victims? His own brother and Bathsheba, right? So he plots and he schemes to go to King David to make King David affirm again that the throne will belong to Shlomo and not to the older brother. The question is, the Torah is not history book. The Torah is God's GPS. Why tell me the story how Nasan Hanavi plotted and schemed with Bathsheba to make sure that what? That Shlomo takes over the throne and not the older brother. What's the message, Yechiel? Torah is not history. We make a mistake. The Torah is GPS. More important than that, years before Natan had received a nevuah that who is going to sit on the throne after King David dies? Shlomo. And he will build a Beis HaMikdash. So he got a nevuah directly from Hashem that when David dies, who's the next king? Shlomo. So why sweat? It's in the bag. Why was Nathan so agitated and nervous, Ray, to plot and scheme? And he says, listen, I have to give you advice to save your life and the life of your son Shlomo. He received a nevuah. A nevuah latov can't be changed. You hear the question, Beryl? Shlomo is going to build a Beis HaMikdash. Sit back and relax. Why are you so nervous and agitated, Natan, trying to come up with a plan to save the life of Shlomo when the prophecy was received by Natan years earlier that Shlomo will be the next king? So what's the message, Yechiel? What's the message for us? That even though the prophet got the nevuah, everything is from God, but we have to have human initiative. We have to be proactive. It's not enough that God gave him the nevuah. Why did God give him the nevuah, not another Navi? Elisha, there are many other prophets. Why did God give Natan the nevuah? If God gave me the nevuah, chanoch, it means I have to see to it that what? It's carried out. I can't sit on folded hands. It's a very important message in life. God does everything. God does everything. Sit back and do nothing.
No.
God does everything if and when we do what we have to do. God will only do his part if and when, Leah, we do our part. So nothing couldn't sit back, Natan, and relax. It's in the bag. No. Without his initiative, Shlomo wouldn't have been king, even though God prophesied that he would be king. Why did God prophesy to Natan, not to another Navi? So Natan knew, if God told me the Nevuah Yechiel, he wants me to make sure that it comes true. And I cannot sit on my hands. You see this idea throughout Tanakh. Shmuel Hanavi had anointed King David king. Right? Shmuel Hanavi had anointed King David king, right? Then he became a fugitive. Saul was chasing him. Remember that? So David comes to the city of Nob, Ir Kohanim. And there's nothing to eat except the lechem aponim, the showbread. The showbread, the lechem aponim, the showbread. A non-Kohen who eats showbread is chayiv mita b'dei shamayim. But David ate it because b'kuach nefesh doicha kol haTorah kula. So the Ben Ish Chai asked the question, what right did David have to eat the showbread? Only a Kohen can eat it. You can't starve to death. Shmuel Hanavi had anointed you in the name of God that what? You're the next king of Israel, David. So you can't starve. What right do you have to eat the lechem upon him? You hear the question that Ben Ish Chai asked? Shmuel Hanavi got a direct message from God, you're the next king of Israel. So if you starve to death, you can't be the king of Israel. So what are you worried about? What right do you have to eat the lechem upon him? So Ben Ish Chai says, yes, same idea. God wants you to be the king of Israel. But you have to make sure you don't starve to death. The only food that you have is the lechem upon him, b'kuach nefesh, doicha kol haTorah kula. So again, God will only do his part if and when you do your best, and only then will God do the rest. Right? We have to be proactive in life. Right? Now, there's a new intifada raging. Do you know that? I don't want to burst your bubble, but it's called the arson intifada. What? Raging intifada of arson. Do you know that?
But it's not in the media.
The media is covering it up.
That's right.
But our peace partners are raging a new intifada. Now, just amazing. In last week's Parshat, when God commands Abraham to take his son to the Akedah, Abraham asks too many questions, Ruvain. God says, take your son. So Abraham says, well, I have two sons. Do you want an only? Well, Shmuel is the one and only to his mother, and Yitzchak is the one and only to his mother. The one that you love. I love them both. So finally God has to say, Yitzchak. Abraham, why are you asking so many questions? God says, take your son and bring him to the Akedah. Who's his firstborn? Yishmael. You should have just taken Yishmael and kaput. No intifada. Our problems would have been over 3,800 years ago, Yechiel. God says, take your son and slaughter him. Who's his firstborn son that he loves? Yishmael. Abraham, why are you asking so many questions for? Take Yishmael, kaput, and our problems would have been over 3,800 years ago. But no. Abraham has to ask which son, from which mother. I love them both. Yeah, Bainish. There'd be no intifadas. 3,800 years ago, no intifadas. But maybe he wouldn't have stopped Yishmael. Who knows? But anyway. Sometimes, you know, you're not supposed to ask so many questions, right? Now the Parsha Chayay Sarah It's very strange. The Parsha speaks about her death. So why is the Parsha called Chayay Sarah? Should be called the death of Sarah. But it's not her life. It's speaking about her death, Ray. I'm mixed up over here. The Parsha should be called Mitat Sarah. Why is it called Chayay Sarah? So what's the answer? When a tzaddik dies, she begins to live. When did Sarah really begin to live? When she died. Sound like the ultimate paradox. The death of the body is the birth of the soul. So the Parsha that speaks about her death is called Chayay Sarah. Tzadikim b'mesosim kuyin chayim. A tzaddik is more alive after death than when he's what? In this world, like he's trapped in his bodysuit. Right? But when a tzaddik dies, I gotta be free. Now, the life of Sarah. Rashi says, Kulan shavin latova. All of her years were equally good. Nechama, you understand this? I don't. For 90 years she was barren. She got kidnapped by the king of the PLO, got kidnapped by Paro. Ezet sorot that she had in her life. Imagine a righteous woman to be barren for 90 years. How many nights did she cry herself to sleep, Yehuda? And yet Rashi says, Kulan shavin latova. All of her years are what? Good. What's the message? A tzaddik is like Sarah, recognize Yechiel gamzu latova. That even suffering in life somehow is what? Gamzu latova. She understood that. Kulan shavin latova. Person goes through hard times, somehow you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. So Sarah realized that even her suffering somehow is for her benefit. She can't see it now, but after 120 she will see it. Kulan shavin latova. So the Parsha is very strange. When there are two Parshas next door in the Torah, there has to be a connection. The Parsha Chayay Sarah begins with the death of Sarah, and right next to that we have the wedding of Yitzchak and Rivka. It's very strange that the Torah, in God's mind, how many psukim are written about the creation of the world? Very few psukim. The creation of the first Jewish family is more precious to God than creation of the world. Wow. How do I know that? Because the creation of the world gets short shrift. But the creation of the first Jewish family, the Torah gets over and over again the minute detail. For creation, we don't know anything. It's all written in shorthand. But the creation of the first Jewish family, Yechiel, the minute detail, because the creation of the first Jewish family is more precious to God than what? The creation of the world. The proof is not in the pudding, the proof is what? In the psukim. But getting back to our question, we have two parshas in Torah next to each other. It has to be a very strong connection. You have the death of Sarah, and you have the wedding of what? Rivka and Yitzchak. Why are they next door? Isn't that bizarre to put death and a wedding next door? Life goes on. But api Kabbalah, when a tzaddik dies, it's called Halula. It's called a wedding. When a tzaddik dies, reunited, and it feels so good. When a tzaddik dies, he marries HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, the death of the righteous Sarah is next door to the wedding, that when a tzaddik dies, the Talmud, the Moed Katan 25 says, when a tzaddik dies, Kadosh Baruch Hu mesameach with the neshama, kechatanim akala, Yiddish, Beinish. When a tzaddik dies, God rejoices with the soul, like a chassan rejoices with what? With a kala. It's a wedding in Shamayim. The death of the tzaddik, that's the upside down world. When a baby is born, the baby is crying, and the relatives are what? Laughing. When a tzaddik dies, Mishlei 31, Vatischak leyom achron. She laughs on her day of death. Who's the she? The godly soul is feminine. Upside down world, right? Baby is born, the baby is crying, and the relatives are what? Laughing. When a tzaddik dies, the relatives are crying, but the tzaddik is what? Laughing. Mishlei 31. Eishes chayva tischak leyoim achron. She rejoices and laughs on her day that she dies. The neshama. So here you have a connection between death and marriage. Like Ray said, life goes on, right? Very important message. Now, the Torah goes into such great detail of the marriage of what? Of Yitzchak and Rivka, the first couple, the first Jewish couple to get married. Such great detail. And he sends, how come he doesn't send Yitzchak to find a wife? He sends Eliezer to Syria. Why doesn't he send Yitzchak himself? Ray, because Yitzchak is a Ola Temimah. Yitzchak was brought on the Akedah, so he had no right to go to Borough Park. I mean to Syria, Ocean Parkway. He couldn't leave. God said you have no right to leave Eretz Yisrael because you were brought on the Mizbeach. So therefore, he had to send a shliach. He sent a shliach, Eliezer Evet Avraham. He sent Eliezer to find a shidduch for what? For his wife. And the Torah goes into such great detail telling us the whole story of Eliezer. The story is repeated twice, not once. Once when it happens and once when he tells over the story. The Torah is so economical about words and letters. Why does it deem it necessary to what? To say the story again? The story of Yitzchak and Rivka, the way Eliezer happened, and repeats it. And what's the message for us? More important, what's the message for us? And the Talmud makes a strange observation that the table talk of Eliezer, the Evet Avram, is more precious to God than the Torah. Because many laws of the Torah are only learned out by an extra letter. Many laws, Nikimia, the oral Torah squeeze it from extra letter. Here, the table talk of what? Of Eliezer, Evet Avram, is more precious to God than the Torah. Because his story is repeated what? Not once, but twice. So that just begs the question. Why is it so important? Right? Well, we know Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. We know that something comes before the Torah. What's that? Derech Eretz. From Eliezer's behavior, we see the amazing derech eretz of this person. Who was he? He was the Kan Beito. He was the elder in the house of Avraham. He was Avraham's star disciple, Hamoshel B'chol Ashelo. And he also ruled, Abraham was bigger than U.S. Steel. Mickey, you know that? Abraham was bigger than U.S. Steel. Who was in charge of Abraham Incorporated? Who was the CFO and the CEO? Who? Eliezer. So imagine his resume, right? Zikan Beito. Mind opening the window a little bit? Zikan Beito, Amoshel B'chol Ashelo. So you imagine, thank you, you can imagine his resume. He was the chief disciple of Avraham Avinu, in charge of all of Avraham Avinu's vast holdings. And yet, when he identifies himself, what does he call himself? He should have said, you know who I am to the family of Rivka? I'm Chief Rabbi, Doctor, PhD, CEO, CFO of Abraham Incorporated. He says, Evet Avram Anoichi. I am Evet Avram. The humility of this person, the derech eretz of this person, therefore, his table talk is more important than what? Than our Torah. Derech eretz kadma Torah. More than that. When he tells over the story to the family of Rivka, Beryl, he changes a little bit of the story. He changes it. Rashi says, in the beginning, he saw her midot tovot. Even before he asked her who she was, he gave her the diamond tennis bracelets. Wow. When he tells the story, he says, first I asked her who she is, which family you come from. When I find out she's the family of Avraham Avinu, then I gave her what? The jewelry. Why did he change the story? So they shouldn't have said, why are you giving jewelry to a strange girl? You don't even know who she is. So he changed the story. But the question is, why did he give her the jewelry before he asked her who she was?
She was so beautiful.
Because she was so beautiful. What? Why does the Torah tell me that she was so beautiful? Why is it so important that the woman is beautiful? Why should I care, Yechiel? You're sitting down? The Radak says, a pretty wife is important to a man because it makes him want to have more babies. You hear what the Radak says? So you have to know Rivka was very pretty. The Torah describes that all of the mothers were knockouts. Why is that important? Says the Radak, because a pretty woman makes the man want to have more children. Pruvu. Right? So why did he give her the jewelry before asking her? He changed the story, so they shouldn't think that he's off the wall. What are you giving jewelry to a strange woman? So the Medrash says something incredible. Eliezer also had a daughter. It is right. Eliezer had a daughter. And he wanted, who's more, Abraham, you trust me with your spiritual wealth, your physical wealth, with the future of the Jewish people. Who's more worthy than me? I have a daughter to marry Yitzchak. So Abraham told him, listen, you're great, but you come from Canaan. Canaan is an Arur, and an Arur cannot become part of a Baruch. You cannot found the Jewish people with an Arur Canaan. But if he couldn't find anybody else, it was in Eliezer's interest to fail. Abraham trusted him implicitly. Go find a wife for Yitzchak and bring her back to what? To Eretz Yisrael. He could add 101 reasons why the woman didn't want to go. She's not matim. Abraham trusts him. Then Abraham would have no choice but what? To take his daughter. But he knew that Abraham didn't want his daughter because when you're building a Jewish people, you can't start with an Oro Canaan. So listen to me very carefully, Yechiel. He is human. What's going to happen to my daughter? Who's she going to marry? One of the disco boys. Who's more worthy for my daughter than Yitzchak? So he felt a struggle within him. He knew if he began to question Rivka, he'd find a dozen reasons why she's not matim. Once he saw her chesed and her enthusiasm, not just her chesed, Chano, but the way she ran to do chesed, he knew this girl belongs in the house of Abraham. She's the worthy ancestors of the Jewish people. He knew if he began to question her, where do you come from? You come from an idolatrous family. Betuel worshipped idols. I don't worship idols. Your father worships idols. I don't worship idols. My daughter is more matim than you. He knew if he began to question her, he'd weaken his resolve. So therefore he did an act. He gave her a diamond tennis bracelet. Now there's no coming back.
Wow.
He was Kovish's Yetzer Hara. And he couldn't wait to begin to question her because she'd say, my father's Betuel. He's a chief idol worshiper. Eliezer would say, well, my daughter doesn't worship idols. In my house, we don't do that. So therefore, he did this act of giving her the jewelry, knowing that she does belong in the house of Abraham because she didn't worship idols. And Abraham wanted someone from his family. And therefore, his story is worth repeating not once, but twice. Yofa sichotan shel avdei avos mitarasha shel banim. The derech eretz of a person, his midot, is more precious to God than what? Than the Torah. Yechiel, isn't that incredible? Person has Torah. If he has no midot tovot, who needs his Torah? Who needs a Torah? If you don't have midot tovot, you don't have, how do you say menschlichkeit in English? How do you say that? Menschlichkeit. Midot tovot. Integrity, decency, courtesy, and politeness, and humility. Who needs your Torah? What a powerful message. Eliezer Eved Avraham. Yes, Nechama.
Okay, so Okay, but could she have gone the way?
Who?
The daughter.
The daughter of Eliezer. When you're founding, there's not. She's a tzadekis, and so is he. But when you're about to begin the Jewish people, you can't start off with a Canaanite, no matter how righteous she was. It doesn't make any difference.
That group was from Moab?
That what?
It doesn't make any difference.
The Chama is asking a good question. What do you got against Canaan? What about Moab?
That's right.
The grandmother of the Jew of Mashiach.
That's right.
But Moab was not cursed. Do you remember that Noah cursed? Who did Noah curse? Canaan.
Oh, because
not
of
Moab.
his son. Because of his son.
Or Canaan. Even though Eliezer and his daughter were tzaddikim, the highest tzaddikim, but they had the stigma. It's not their fault, Yechiel. They had the stigma of Grandpa Noach. So even though individually they were superstars, but Reuven, when you're about to begin a Jewish people, you can't begin a Jewish people with a stigma. Moab, even though they were sinful, immoral, they never had that stigma of the curse. Right? Noach never cursed Moab, but he did curse Canaan. Good question. Okay?
He didn't curse Lot.
What?
He didn't curse Lot.
No, he cursed Canaan. Noach put a curse on Canaan. I put a spell on you. So even though individually Eliezer and his daughter were great spiritual giants, but when you're about to begin Am Yisrael, you can't begin with the stigma of what? Of Or Canaan. Even though individually they were great people. Fashtei Nechama.
But that's on this road. What about when it came to Yehuda and Tamar?
What about you?
Then you're talking about...
Tamar comes from whom? Shem. Shem ben Noach.
Right.
Not from Canaan.
Right.
Tamar comes from Shem. Only Canaan was cursed.
Okay.
Noach only cursed Canaan, right?
No matter what, they cannot come from Canaan. That's it. Doesn't make any difference about Yehuda with Tamar.
What? Tamar wasn't from Canaan.
I understand.
But their actions, I think she's talking
But
about.
I'm just... That's
You're
exactly
asking me a
right.
good question. I know it's bothering you. Let's say a Canaanite comes to convert to the Jewish people. Do we accept him?
According
Yeah,
to
we
this-
do.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm glad you brought it up. We accept a Canaanite when he converts to the Jewish people. We accept a what?
Yeah.
The problem is when you're beginning. Let's not get mixed up here, please. Let's clear it up. A Canaanite wants to convert to the Jewish people, of course we accept him. 1 minute. But when you're about to begin a Jewish people, Reuven, you can't begin with a Canaanite. After the Jewish people already established, then bring it on home. A Canaanite can convert, but to begin a Jewish people. Here you're beginning the Jewish people, Reuven. You can't begin with a Canaan. Once the Jewish people are established safely, then we accept Canaanite converts. We don't discriminate, Yechiel, we don't. We don't accept for Ammon and Moab, but only the males, not the females. But besides Ammon and Moab, we accept, after conversion, Ammon and Moab, because what they did, only the males, not the females. But besides Ammon and Moab, we accept converts. But here it's different. Here you are a founding. What's the word? A better word. The foundation can't be Canaan. Beautiful, Chava. I'm glad you came. After the Jewish people have been founded already, then Canaan can come in. But the foundation cannot be based on Canaan. Because Noach said, Or Canaan. Yes?
Are Canaanites today Arab?
There are no Canaanites. I don't know. Are there Canaanites today? Do you know anybody? What? Arafat said he was a Canaanite.
They say they are, but that doesn't mean anything.
Do we take Arab converts?
Yes, why not? They are converts to Hebron. There was a former sheik in Hebron. He's now a Haredi Jew in Hebron.
Wow.
I don't want to say his name because the PLO is going to kill him.
Wow.
There was a sheik in Hebron who converted. He's a real Yid now.
You know that?
There's more than one. But we can't say their names because, right?
When I was working on an army base,
Go ahead.
there was an Arab who converted.
Who converted?
He was a soldier.
Yeah, a soldier. Nachon? Yes.
I went to a wedding with a grandson of the Lord. Became a Jew and married a Jew.
a grandson of the Mukhtar.
In Hebron.
In Hebron? Right?
Rabbi,
Yes?
I'm told from history that from Jerusalem to Hebron,
Right.
the Arabs that live in that area, their great-grandparents,
Oh, it could be Jewish.
yes, because they were forced converted.
Forced converted, right?
Yeah.
Very possible.
If that's the case, they are returning back to the fold.
Right. Now, in this week's Parsha, Abraham, when he deputizes Eliezer to send him on his mission, he says, God will help you. You're not going to go alone, Eliezer. He says, God, the God of heaven, will be with you. So Rashi said, why does Abraham say that he's the God of heaven? Isn't he also the God of the earth? And yet, if you look in Genesis 24, verse 7, he says, the God of heaven, Hashem, the God of heaven, will help you. You won't be alone. Isn't he also the God of the earth?
Heaven and earth.
So how come he only says the God of heaven? So Abraham says, listen to this, telling his Eliezer, yeah, now he's the God of the earth too. Now, because of me. But before I went on my Kiruv mission, he was only the God of heaven. Nobody knew him on the earth. Now, thanks to me, he's also the God of the earth. This is Abraham talking. What about, he called himself a dirtbag? Anoichi ofa ve'efer. Don't you remember, Nechama? In last week's parsha, he calls himself a dirtbag. Abraham, you're mixing me. Over here, you say, he's only the God of heaven. Now, thanks to me, he's the God of the earth, thanks to my PR campaign. Everybody knows him. But before I got on the scene, he was only the God of heaven. Nobody knew him. So it's all about me, Ray. But yet, last week's parsha, he said, God, anoichi ofa ve'efer. I'm nothing but a dirtbag. If I'm a dirtbag, then what are you patting yourself on the back for?
Both true.
Huh?
He's not.
What'd you say?
They're both true.
You're right, Elisheva. To answer this question, we have to ask, why did God create us with two hands? The Kotzker Rebbe says maybe 3 hands would be better. Why 2 hands? So the Kotzker Rebbe says, throughout life, in one hand, you have to have anoichi ofa ve'efer. In one hand, you have to know I'm nothing but a dirtbag. But in the other hand, bishvili nivra olam. Without me, the big boss can't do it. And the trick in life is to know when to open up which hand. You got the whole world. In your hand, you got the whole world. Yiddish Ray, please hear me well. If I'm a dirtbag, what I do doesn't matter. I become a beach bum. Why do anything? I'm a zero. What I do doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Then which hand you're supposed to open up? Bishvili nivra olam. The whole universe was created only for me. No one can do it my way. Da-da-da-da. God needs me. I'm very important to him. Then you open up that hand. But then when you become arrogant, then you open up the other hand. You see that, Elisheva? You have to know in life when to open up which hand. That's the trick in life, Reb Chaim Eliyahu. It's a balancing act. When to say anoichi ofa ve'efer, or when to say bishvili nivra olam. It's all about me. The Mishnah in Sanhedrin 37, the universe was created not for the Vilna Gaon, not for the Baal Shem Tov, for whom? Me. I'm a dirtbag.
No.
Yes.
No, you're not.
Depends when. Anoichi ofa ve'efer. You see, it depends, Leah. When? If I don't want to do anything, I'll take a day off and become a beach bum. Then you can't say anoichi ofa ve'efer. If I'm a nobody, it doesn't matter what I do. Then you have to say b'shuli olam. If I don't do the chesed, nobody will do it. But then when you want to get a swelled head, then it's time to open up the other hand. Right, Yochanan? Down, boy. Down, boy. And the trick in life is to know when to open up which hand.
This hand keeps
Balancing.
This keeps you.
That's why you have 2 hands.
This keeps you.
The Kotzker Rebbe. That's right. the Kutzker Rebbe. So he said, the Eved ran to greet her. In Genesis 24, Pasuk 17. He ran to greet her. He ran to her. He didn't even say anything yet. Rashi said he saw that the Mayim came up. The water came up to her. Did he give her the jewelry then? He should have, as soon as the water came up, he should have given her the jewelry. No, only when she ran to do chesed, he gave her the jewelry. If someone is a miracle worker, that doesn't mean much. You want to be a member of the Jewish people, you have to be a chesed person, not a miracle worker. She made the water come up. So is that enough to be the founder of the Jewish people? No. Beautiful is also not enough. It helps. But she has to do chesed. Chesed is the name of the game, and not just how she did it with enthusiasm. She ran to do this and she ran to do that, just like Father Abraham. So Eliezer knew that this girl belongs in Abraham's house. He knew that.
Did he have Ruach?
He didn't have Ruach HaKodesh, but he was very, maybe he did, I don't know. But he was such a holy man that Abraham trusted him not just with his physical fortune, but with his spiritual fortune.
I like him.
And yet, and imagine how he felt. And my daughter is not good enough for you? You think you didn't stech him? You did. Yet he loved his master so much that he sacrificed his own daughter's happiness for the will of what? The well-being of his master, right?
Was it the timing of his prayer exactly when he saw her?
He was davening, Hashem, send me a sign, right? And then Pitom Rivka came. Rivka came right away, right? No coinky dinky, right? Rivka came right away, right? You didn't have to wait too long, right? You didn't have to wait too long. Hashem answered his prayers, what? Immediately. Immediately. Nechama, I take it back. You're right. He had Ruach HaKodesh. Excuse me, Nechama. Because why did he give her? Now, why do we have to know exactly the jewelry that he gave her? The Torah is not a history book, right? The Torah is God's GPS, right? The Torah mentions exactly what he gave her, right? The Torah mentions exactly what he gave her. Why is that important? So Rashi says something incredible. Why the Torah mentions exact jewelry that he gave her. Let me find a Rashi over here.
Does that have anything to do with Yaakov?
No. Why? What did he give her? Well, let's see what Rashi says. Let's see what Rashi says. What he gave her. The weight of the items and what they were, right? So Rashi says, why did he give her these items? He gave her a nose ring that weighed a beka, and he gave her two diamond tennis bracelets, each weighing 10 grams of gold. So why is that important for the year 2016? Why do I care what he gave her? It's 3,800 years ago. So Rashi said he had Ruach HaKodesh. The nose ring weighed a beka, that's the weight of the Machzis HaShekel. The Machzis HaShekel that the Jewish people give.
For counting of
The counting of the people, that weighed a beka. And he gave her two diamond tennis bracelets, not 3, symbolizing the 2 Shnei Luchot HaBrit, that her children will accept the 2 tablets of stone, and it weighed 10 grams of gold, symbolizing what? The 10 Commandments.
Oh, beautiful.
Yiddish? So Nechama, you're right. This man had Ruach HaKodesh.
That's why
We
he
need
gave it
the-
right.
He had Ruach HaKodesh.
That's why he gave it right away.
That's why he gave it right away, okay?
He knew.
But not until he saw her chesed, right?
That was the key.
That was the test. And not just she did chesed, how she did it.
Abraham had given them that gift, so it could have been Abraham's idea.
Could have been Abraham's idea, okay?
I don't think so.
But Rashi said the 2 bracelets, the 2 tablets of stone, and it weighed 10 grams of gold, symbolizing what? The 10 Commandments written on what? On the 2 tablets of stone. So everything has a cheshbon. Everything has a cheshbon over here, right? It's not just stam, right? It's not just stam. What? Now, it's just amazing that we were at a wedding last night, and the Kala, her face was covered, right? Where do you learn that from? Rivka. Rivka saw Yitzchak, and she covered her face with a veil. And the Kala's name was Rivka. Oh.
Double whammy.
Now, why do I need to know that 3,800 years ago, when Rivka saw her chassan, she covered her face? Why is that important for the year 2016? She covered her face. What is she saying? Don't love me only for my beautiful face. I'm much more than a beautiful face. Just like the veil covers the face. Is the veil the face? It's a covering. So my face is also only a covering for the godly soul. You know what Rivka was teaching us? A beautiful face is only a cover. Just like the veil covers the face itself is only a cover for what? For the godly soul. There's more to me than a pretty face. That's what Rivka was teaching us. Now, you ever wonder, in English, skin is called hide. I'll tan your hide. Yechiel, ever wonder about that? Isn't it? Look in the Webster, I'm not joking. The definition for skin, not definition, the synonym bun. A synonym for skin is what? Hide. I'll tan your hide. Ruvain, isn't that bizarre? No, it's not. I just told you why. Why is skin called hide? It hides my godly soul. Don't confuse me with my hide. I'll tell you a deep secret here. Please hear me well. Ruvain paid to come today. There's no logical explanation why Webster's dictionary should give a synonym for skin as hide. Leah, why? I just told you why. They learned from Mama Rivka. Matriarch Rivka, when she put the veil on her face, she was teaching Webster's dictionary. Just like the veil hides my face is only a hiding my godly soul. Ray, you with me on this? Sure. Paid to come today.
Rabbi, the skin makes ritual possible.
The skin hides who I really am. I'm a tselem Elokim. I've got you under my skin. They got everything from us. Frankie Valley? I've got the godly soul under my skin, which is hide. Chanoch. It's amazing. Hide.
Yeah,
Frankie Valley sang it too.
Frank Sinatra.
Sounds good to me.
The skin hides my godly soul. I'm a soul man. I'm a soul man, right? Now, physical beauty. It's very important, right? We just said, Radak says that the Torah goes out of her way to describe the physical beauty of the matriarchs. It's important because when a man has a beautiful wife, it makes him want to have more babies. So how could King Solomon say, Sheker achein v'hevel ayofi isha yirat Hashem hitit halol? How could King Solomon say in Mishlei 31 that physical beauty is vain and useless?
He had 1,000 wives.
But how could he fight the text? The text says that physical beauty is important. So how could King Solomon say it's vain and useless?
But it's only a cover.
Says the Vilna Gaon, we're not learning Pshat properly, Chava. We're not. You have to know where to put the commas. Let's eat, Grandpa.
No.
Let's eat, Grandpa. You got to know where to put the commas, Reuben. Sheker achein v'hevel ayofi. If all a woman has is physical beauty, she's an empty dress, there's nothing behind, then it's vanity because physical beauty after 100 years wears out. If there's an empty dress. But Isha Yirat Hashem. If a beautiful woman is also God-fearing, he tit halal, then you praise her for what?
Her beauty.
Her physical beauty.
Absolutely.
You know that, right? Since the matriarchs were God-fearing women, so therefore the Torah praises them for their physical beauty as well.
They're complete.
Isha Yirat Hashem, she's praised for physical beauty as well. So very important, right? To understand what we're saying, right? Now, when Sarah dies, Rashi says all of her years, kulan shavin latova. Even though she suffered much, kidnapped by Arafat and kidnapped by Pharaoh, and the barrenness and all the fights she had with Hagar and Ishmael, yet kulan shavin latova. Rashi makes that comment, Chanoch, by the death of Sarah. In the Parshat, Abraham also dies. And it also says years, years, years. The life of Abraham's years, that he lived 100 years, 70 years, 5 years. And there Rashi does not make that comment, Leah. Is there discrimination here against 4 women, against men? I'm asking a question, Elisheva. When Sarah dies, years, years of her life, Rashi says they were all good. Even though it doesn't look to us they were good. She acknowledged they were all good. When Abraham died, Rashi doesn't comment that Abraham considered all of his years good. How much did he suffer? 10 devastating trials and tribulations. And there Rashi doesn't comment that they're all good. What's the message, Mekimia? Women have a bina yetera. Women can see. Rashi says that Sarah was a much greater prophet than Abraham. Did you know that? You knew that. You didn't know that, Ray. You knew that.
I knew it. Because you told me.
Huh?
You told us.
Well, Rashi said that, not me, right? So the point is, right? A woman can see more clearly. Sarah acknowledged and realized that all of her suffering kula shavuot tova. So Rashi makes that comment only by Abraham, by Sarah, slicha. By Abraham, it doesn't say that. Because men, you know, they cannot see as clearly as what? As a woman. Women have a bina yetera. How do you say that in English? A woman's intuition. Bina yetera. Women can see right through the tsar. Because women, where was a woman created from? A pinky? A nose? Inside. So she can see right through. It looks like a tzara. Yes. But there has to be some hidden good. There has to be some hidden good there.
Deeper than the men.
Much deeper. Women are much more spiritual. They're much more spiritual than men, right?
So if we know that, why does he have to distinguish 3 times the priest with both, with a woman and a man?
Right. Now here Rashi comments that all of his years he didn't sin. Doesn't say kulan shav. By Sarah it says all the years she was righteous and kulan shav and latova. By Abraham it just says that he didn't sin all of his years. But Rashi doesn't make the comment kulan shav and latova. When Rashi doesn't comment, Mickey, it's just as important as when he does. Do you know that, Bainish? Yechiel, very important. When Rashi doesn't comment, it's just as important when he does. So he makes the comment by Avraham, Kulon Shavuot, not by Avraham, slicha, by Sarah, but not by Avraham Avinu, right? When God created the woman, he said, Loi toiv v'yois adam levado. If man is alone, he can't be good. The English doesn't translate that. But it says, Loi toiv v'yois, I have to make him a woman, because while man is alone, he cannot see the good. He needs a woman to point out the good in the tzaris. Yiddish Yochanan. You need a wife to point out the good in the tzaris.
And he's
What?
incomplete.
So when Sarah was with Avimelech, he was alone.
Avram was alone.
So
When she was kidnapped by the king of the PLO and also by Pharaoh, right? Avram was alone. So Sarah saw the good in it. Avram didn't. What was the good? They got a big payoff at the end, right? She wasn't molested, right? They got the king got VD The king got VD and he got impotence. He couldn't touch her. And she got a big bonus at the end, right? So a woman has this Bina Yetei Ruvain. They could see through the troubles, trials and tribulations, and see that they're what? There's a hidden good. There's a hidden good in all tsar. The word nega, please hear me well. How do you say a plague in Hebrew? Nega. Nun gimel ayin. Nega means a plague, suffering. Nega, rearrange the letters, you get oneg. Oneg means delight. In every tzara, in every plague, there's a hidden delight. Sometimes you see it in this world, but many times you don't see it until you get to the Olam HaEmet. But the purpose of all nega is to lead to oneg, yichil. Sometimes in this world, but more often than not, in Olam Haba. This is called Olam HaSheker. Sheker, lies. This is called lies. So, lies. Look at the UN. Look at UNESCO. In the EU, it's based on lies. Lies.
The media.
Right? The media. Right?
They're based on lies.
Sheker. In Olam Haba, it's called Olam Emet. On Sundays, my mother-in-law's yahrzeit at 2 o'clock, so I'm having a special shiur, what's it like in the afterlife? Get it? What's it like in the afterlife? That's why this is called Olam HaSheker. This world is called the world of lies, and why the afterlife is called the world of truth. Emet. Emet in Hebrew means what? Truth. What's the root of emet? Met. Met means...
And it means that it covers everything.
But emet has aleph, mem, tov. Mem, tov spells out what? Met. Death. Because the truth only comes after death. Don't you see, Leah? The truth only comes... So emet, which means truth, has a mem, tov, which is death. Because the truth only comes after death. Now we're living in a world of lies.
And when it's strong, it starts with the aleph and the ends
With a tough, go ahead.
covers everything.
Covers everything, but also contains met.
Yes, but
Right? Only after death will we see the truth.
Rabbi,
This world is based on lies.
Rabbi, it would be safe to say also that M is the giver of life. It's the beginning of
Aim.
Aim.
Okay.
So you have
Emet.
Aim in the first part of the root, and you have Met.
Met.
In the other. And here
Right.
in Parshat you have the death of Sarah, which we call the life
Right.
of Sarah, and then you have the birth.
What is the purpose of birth? Death. Who said that? The purpose of birth is death. You can't get to Olam Haba without being born and dying. The purpose of life is death. Well, to do mitzvahs, but then,
And we're not to rush.
okay, the purpose to be born is to do mitzvahs and then to move on. Right? Moving on up.
And we're not to rush you.
Right? Not to rush it, no. Got a lot to accomplish down here, right? Let's not be in a hurry to get there. After 120. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.